Okay. This conference will be a little bit in English, but I don't. My English is not so good, so I hope you can understand me. But today is a very joyful day, and it is a day. This is not the end of the story, and also not the beginning. So we are now in the middle of a story who took more than 24 years, and today is a joyful day because this is the first time in history for the last 20 years that we can see so many nice pieces of art from the Cypriotic churches here. And we are honored that the pieces are in Holland. They could also be in other countries. But before I tell you some more about what's going on today, I want to introduce all the people behind the table, because some came specially for this event from other countries to be here with you. And let me start at the left side, and I also will excuse me for my bad Greek, because the names at the left side are Mr. Stefanou, Andreas Stefani. He's of the police in Cyprus. And Mr. Panagiotou, he's also from the police, and they just came in a few minutes ago from the airport. So maybe they are going to tell something, maybe not, but they just want to be here and to see what was going on. To my left side is Stella Mary Ioannidis, and she's a counsel of the Republic, and she will help me a little bit when I make too many mistakes. And at my right side is one of the key figures, but she will say she's not a key figure because the key figures is not a man, but is art and history. But there's tasoula Georgiou hadjitofi, and she worked more than 24 years on this project. And we are telling also a story today, maybe about a woman who put so much effort to get all the pieces together. There's a little bit her story, but she will not say that's her story, because she will say so many people are involved with it, and she's only a little piece of it. But she will elaborate on what was going on the last few years, and what was going on the last few weeks, and what's going on the next coming months. And then we are also very proud that we have the bishop here. The bishop is Grace, the bishop of Trimatunda, and he will also address a few words to you. And then at the right side of me is Mr. Kitzler, Mr. Peter Kitzler. He's from the German Polizei, and he just came over today to be here with you. And at the right side, Mr. Papa Georgie, and he's well known because he knows everything about all kinds of stuff who's before you. So he knows everything about music, etc. And he was also the man who said, is it real or is it not real? And what you see here today is real. More than 1,000 years old, even some pieces more old than that. And that's one thing. The other thing, what are we going to do today? First, tasoula will tell her story. Then the Archbishop will tell a story. And at the end, we will hear a story of Mr. Papa Georgiou, sorry, who will say something about the art collected here. And of course, final, there's always time for questions. And I think we will finish about 4 o'clock, maybe some later. And afterwards, there's some coffee or tea for you. I will also thank the Gemeentemuseum, who said we have a lot to do, but still they put effort in it to host us here. And now we start with press conference. I give you the floor.
Thank you, Ralph. I have assembled a few words. They are typed. I will read it. And also a copy of my speech will be on the press map that you can take with you at the end. My apologies for the Dutch press. Ik spreek wel Nederlands, maar mijn Engels is een stuk beter. Dus ik ga gewoon in Engels verder. In the last few weeks, the Autocephalous Greek Orthodox Church of Cyprus, in close cooperation with the Attorney General's office in the Republic of Cyprus, the Cyprus police, Interpol, and the German police have succeeded to uncover several icons, frescoes, and mosaics, which once adorned Orthodox churches in what is now the occupied area of Cyprus. These pieces were illegally removed following the Turkish occupation of the northern part of our country, Cyprus, in 1974. As a representative of the Church of Cyprus related to retrieval of our cultural heritage, I can now release some facets of how this discovery came about and provide some aspects of the wider story which has spanned the last 23 years since the willful pillaging of the cultural heritage of our country. While this recent event is in itself a major coup, it is not the end. Many more objects and artifacts remain in the wrong hands, and we will continue to pursue their whereabouts until their return. I shall tell you a few words about the beginning of injustice, the cultural destruction of the occupied area of Cyprus. Since the invasion and occupation in 1974 by the Turkish army of what is now termed the occupied area of Cyprus, many, if not all, of the artifacts belonging within 500 churches, monasteries, castles, museums of the area found their way illegally to various parts of the world. Overall, the magnitude of the destruction can only be estimated, since access to undertake a detailed inventory is not permitted. But I can give you some realistic estimates, which are: we estimate 15,000 to 20,000 icons have been removed. Several dozen major frescoes and mosaics dating from the 6th century to the 15th century have been segmented for sale abroad, and some destroyed forever. Several thousand antiquities and individual objects of historical and cultural interest, ranging from chalices, crosses, wooden carvings, Bibles, etc., have just disappeared. Apart from the individuals involved in the removal, art dealers from several countries provided a vehicle for the trade in our antiquities and religious objects, for which they have received large sums of money from wealthy individuals in the last 23 years. The beginning of the justice began with the return of the Kanakaria mosaics. Unconfirmed reports, independent eyewitnesses, tourists to the occupied area provided confirmation of what was happening to our cultural heritage of Cyprus. The government of Cyprus alerted all major world bodies involved in the protection of cultural heritage, including UNESCO, and a number of learned institutions and professors. However, direct action was limited. Without knowledge of the individuals and the location of the pieces, what else could we do? The first major breakthrough occurred with the confiscation in the United States of America of 4 mosaics originating from the Kanakaria Church, dating 525 AD, which you can see in your handouts. The mosaics were being offered for sale by an art dealer named Peggy Goldberg. A civil case started in the United States by the government and Church of Cyprus. A landmark victory was won, and the mosaics were returned in 1992. And these mosaics are to be seen in the museum in Nicosia, the Byzantine Museum. But now I wish to pause just for a few seconds and give you a feeling of what do we mean with pillage. Imagine a small church surrounded by olive trees. You can see a picture of the Kanakaria church in your handout. You walk through the door, and in the semi-dawn, the roof of the church, you can see decorated by millions and millions of stones, each stone of area less than 1/2 of a square centimeter, with every color one can imagine. The assembly of these tiny little stones illustrate Christ, surrounded by the 12 apostles. Today, you can see one of the mosaics, recovered the last few weeks, of that same series, and is a twin of the 4 won in the court case in the United States. That is this one here, Taderos. Now you tell me, how could anyone do that? Imagine the walls of the Antiphonides church being hand-painted in the 12th century, each and every brush telling you a story. Look at these poor frescoes today. They tell their own story. How could anyone cut them from the wall and remove them so brutally in the hope to trade them for cash? I shall tell you a little bit about my first exposure and understanding to the jigsaw. As a Cypriot, a refugee from Famagusta, and speaking for the people of Cyprus, we have lost many, many things since 1974. However, there can be no greater loss than that one's culture. It is like losing your identity. I became seriously interested in the cultural destruction when a certain art dealer in the Netherlands approached me in 1988 in my official capacity as honorary vice consul at the time and offered to return one of the Kanakaria mosaics and one icon. In exchange, he wanted to legally retain the mosaic of Kanakaria called Andreas. Naturally, the response was no. Interpol came to speak to the dealer, but he said very little. However, this was the start of a personal mission, driven very much by my strong feelings for injustice. Up until 1995, several important pieces have been recovered by the efforts of others. The 4 Kanakaria mosaics of 6th century, wall paintings from the Church of St. Themianos, now being exhibited at the Menil Foundation in Houston, in Texas. The icon of John the Baptist from the Church of Panagia Sinu was found in London and is now in the museum. There is one additional case pending in the Greek courts, the icon of the Virgin enthroned, 16th century. In all these cases, I had collected a mass of information on how the destruction occurred, who the key players were, and their methods of trading. Whilst this information was used to assist in the above cases, it was still not sufficient to pinpoint individuals. In 1995, it came to my attention that a family living in Rotterdam wished to sell 4 icons originating from the Antiphonides church, and you will see them in your handout. In order to pursue this, I needed to act in an official capacity on behalf of the owner, the Autocephalous Greek Orthodox Church of Cyprus. His Beatitude, the Archbishop of Cyprus, Chrysostomos I, gave me his trust and encouragement to pursue confiscation. In addition, he provided the funds to pursue the legal matters. To date, we have achieved the following: the return of the icon Archangel Michael, successfully returned to Cyprus in August 1995 after being found in The Hague. The confiscation of the 4 apostles of Antiphonides, now pending in the courts of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The location of the royal doors of Peristerona in the Kanazawa College of Arts, Kanazawa, Japan. We are working on various approaches to retrieve these doors. But now I shall tell you a couple of things about the watershed, the German connection. Over the last few months, the Dutch art dealer approached me with a proposition to deliver many of our important stolen treasures. He told me that a large number of arts were located in Germany and Austria in the hands of various possessors. He could, however, gather them all in Munich and buy them back for us. I'm afraid I need to drink now. The Dutch art dealer has no regular domicile, and the possessors were unknown to us, which meant that the legal case could not be pursued. Therefore, our only choice was to trust this individual to deliver the pieces, 32 frescoes of Antiphanides and one mosaic of Kanakaria. His Beatitude, the Archbishop of Cyprus, Chrysostomos I, the Holy Synod, and the Attorney General of the Republic of Cyprus approved a sum to be used to buy these arts, and the approach to be followed with the hope that the Dutch art dealer could be able to subsequently deliver many more pieces without funds. I have to pause, I'm afraid my... The transaction took place in a major bank in Rotterdam, where money was exchanged for Thaddeus and 32 frescoes that you can see here today. Dr. Baba Georgiou confirmed the authenticity of the arts before we instructed the bank to pay the money upon delivery. The Dutch art dealer secretly filmed the transaction in Germany. Armed with the knowledge of the film and the name of the key players, it was then essential to involve the police and the authorities. Within a matter of days, with the cooperation of the police of Germany and Cyprus, the Dutch art dealer directly implicated the possessor, which culminated in the arrest of the possessor on Friday, 10th of October 1997, and discovery of many more artifacts of Cypriot origin. This is the beginning of the end. This case is now under sub judice. The art pieces are in the hands of the German police. There are more dealers than the Dutch art dealer who have touched our heritage. We know who they are. Some have provided limited information, some have kept quiet. What is clear is that we now have records and information about the initial deals that went on. For the record, the Dutch art dealer volunteered to cooperate for his own motives. Whatever they are, however, we still believe he has more information to offer. We will finish this jigsaw, and there will be no more hiding behind a veil of indifference and half-truths. We thank all those who have exposed the issues surrounding the cultural destruction of Cyprus, especially Vrij Nederland, but also Channel 4, BBC, Algemene Dagblad, Volkskrant, The Times, The Independent, and many more. However, what has been possible in the past few weeks and months was achieved by a significant dose of trust and goodwill. On the official side, my relationship with the Archbishop and the Attorney General of Cyprus. On the unofficial side, contacts with Dutch members of Parliament, a senior Dutch government advisor, Ralph van Hessen next to me, and ABN AMRO. All these individuals involved and the Dutch art dealer shared the same belief. The destruction of our culture is a crime, and we have a moral responsibility to ensure that the arts are returned where they belong to, and that is the people of Cyprus. Last Friday, I have formally requested, on behalf of the Church, a claim on the money used to return the pieces you see today. It is a matter for all of us to reflect why we are forced to resort to such methods to retrieve what is rightfully ours. No Cypriot should have to pay for return of their culture. Albeit, there is no price a Cypriot would not be prepared to pay when all else fails. Now, I would like to tell you a couple of words informally, and that is the Dutch dealer wanted me to reveal his name, which I will not. I will, however, reveal the name that we Cypriots gave him for the operations, and that is Lefteris. He also gave me a key. I was trying to find it in my bag, but it's somewhere here now. That key is a key to a safe. And in that safe, he told me that the Kanakaria mosaic Andreas is. But he is not sure if it's fake or true. I would like to pass him the following message and say, he must stop playing games with the government, the Church of Cyprus, and myself. We need his help, and he should come and help us. The other thing I wanted to put to your attention is a photograph of an icon found in Germany. This is from our records in the Department of Antiquities in Nicosia. This is how it looks like today when found. Now, can you tell me a good enough reason why anyone would have to take the eyes out of the Virgin before they sell them? How much does an eye cost on the markets? Do they pay more for it? As a last point, I want to say I thank His Beatitude, the Archbishop Chrysostomos I, and the Attorney General for the trust they placed in me. But of course, I thank my husband, Michael Hadjitofi, and my children, who understood who I am and why I had to do it. Thank you.
Okay.